What is up, my dudes and dudettes? I'm gonna play 3 matches here with Bant Living End. I'm 1-1 in this league, but I didn't record the first two. Let's go for a 3-0. I have ventured into the competitive leagues now, so we may not see as many crazy decks as we used to see. I'm sure a lot of you would appreciate that, though, because you want to see how different matchups play out that you're more likely to come across. I'm gonna bin that endurance. Right now, we're just looking for Cascaders and I would say Forces, because this appears to be some sort of control deck. There's a Force, nice. So maybe that Endurance would have been good to keep to beat with, but I really wanted to find a Cascader. And now the question is, do we go for Wake of Waves or do we double land cycle? Okay, so this deck probably has Flage. This is a blue-white-red control. That's what this is. Some might call it Jeskai. There's Flage. I think before I make any decisions about Flage, I would like to know what my hand's going to look like. Problem is my only other blue card right now is this Force of Negation. Okay, that's good. That's optimistic, but I'm going to take Ardent Plea so that Shardless Agent can come back from the graveyard and eat a Flage trigger. And maybe I'll get lucky and draw an Endurance here. And then I've still got Force of Negation next turn if he does something like drop a Planeswalker. Like Narset or Teferi. I do have to play quick. These matchups can go long. There's yet another generous. And I'm going to get basic. Well, no, I've got plenty of ways to get Force. So I'm going to get Island here. All right, the only thing that stops this Force of Negation right now would be. Well, the only thing that stops living him would be Force of Negation. I spoiled that. Let's go ahead and tuck his graveyard. If he was not a Flage deck, I might just leave those cards in his graveyard because they're not very good, but he's a Flage deck, so every card in his graveyard is like a Lotus Petal. And now the Flage has to target Shardless Agent. And I actually kind of like how we're not super committed to the board here, so if he's got something like Supreme Verdict, it doesn't get like all of our creatures. But then again, we didn't pay for these creatures, so maybe that's not as relevant as it would be in a different format like Draft. I remember one time I played a Grixis deck in pre-release, but I put the card Fumigate in it, which is a double white mana board sweeper. I don't think I won any matches. Alright, so because that can't kill anything on my board state, I'm just going to let that go. He's pretty far from reactivating it, and if this Waker goes unchecked for a while, I'm just going to get him low. And if that gets too threatening, I have Subtlety anyway. I would like to draw a land, but I didn't. Boom, bam. Gonna go get basic forest so that I can cast this Force of Negation without losing cards. I like how our opponent's playing at a relatively brisk pace. Temple Garden, I wonder if that's going to cast any green spells or if that's only there for Prismatic Ending. Well, Supreme Verdict can't be countered, so heck. But like I said, that was something that was on our radar. I'm not sure if that really matters, but Hedge Maze. And I'll cycle the other ent as well. Get some Surveil triggers going. I've already got 4 mana for this Subtlety. I would like to dig for another Cascade spell. As I said, I would like to dig for another Cascade spell, so we'll be bottoming that. Binning that. Wrenn and 6. I would like to force that, but I think what I'll do instead is cast Subtlety. If our opponent fights Subtlety with a counterspell, we can force it. Nah, it just resolves. Alright, they probably got removal for this Subtlety. Maybe that's a reason not to force a counterspell. They do play Flage, and they do play... What's it called? Okay, I'm actually... Do I want to cycle that? Top. Okay. Alright, so... If our opponent Flages next turn, what do I do? I think I have to go for this. And I think I have to put some idiots in play to draw Flage, Flage triggers away from my face because I'm actually out of ways to fight Flage. Get rid of his graveyard again for the same reason as last time. So if I would have just kept that Waker, this looks like a Glimpse of Tomorrow board. If I would have just kept that Waker and used Street Wraith to get the Shardless Agent off the top, I'd be at 5 life here, which would put me dead to like 2 Flages or like a Flage and a Lightning Bolt. So I'm kind of glad I kept my life total higher and used the more expensive, even though I don't have access to the food token now. Does he have enough energy? I don't care. All right. He doesn't have enough energy either. All right, begin sideboarding. Obviously, Teferi comes in, Mystical in, Commandeer in. I think that's all I want in. These decks sometimes play Isochron Scepter. So do I want to have one of Foundation Breakers and out to that? I don't think so. If we get totally owned by it, maybe I'll reconsider. When I bring Teferi in, I like to take Ardent Plea out in some number. Because against control decks, like you want all of your cards to be annoying for them. And if they've got your Cascade on lockdown with like Teferi, or they've got like I said, Isochron Scepter with Orange Chant, you don't want a bunch of dead Cascade cards. But I do want to have some volume of them, so I think I'll leave 6 in. And then on the draw, Waker's not as good. You don't have as much time to spend 2 mana. I think Aven also. I think 1/1 is good. I'm not going to take out Striped Riverwinder in this matchup because it can't get flaged and it has hexproof. So the only thing that deals with this is a sweeper. And it's got 1 more converted mana cost for Wrath the Skies. I think that's how Wrath the Skies works. This is an okay 6 with a Living End just chilling out in it, so I'll keep it. Got 3 lands, I got Force, I've got Teferi. I like our opponent's island. Play Misty and pass the turn. I think I'll plan to Generous Ent so I can get a white tap land down. Opponent tunes the narrative again. Gonna go get blue-green. So in paper Magic, I've actually been playing. There's the white tap land. I've been playing Sultai Living End, and I think it's fun. I think the games have a little bit more decision making in them. I think Bant is more classic. I'm not saying I think Bant is worse or Sultai is better. I actually do want the land. I want to keep hitting land drops against control deck. The games just tend to go a little longer, but you actually have a slightly lower density, I think, of I don't know how to say it, like a maybe that's just wrong, but I feel like you have a slightly lower density of like instant speed um plays for less than for 0 mana or for less than 3 mana. And part of that is because your game plan tends to be centered around Overlord of the Baelmerk, and it doesn't pitch to anything. Like I've just noticed I feel like I'm not quite as reliable pitching stuff on turn one and turn two. But that being said, if you overlord the Baelmerk, you should be able to dig something out of your graveyard that would enable you to pitch. Ashiok Dreamrender. Let's see if I get anything nasty I can pitch that I don't want. Well, I already knew that that was a forest there, so. Yeah, I'm just going to pitch this Sink into Stupor. Because now he shields down unless he has Force of Negation. I could have cycled this Curator too, but whatever. I should have done that. Because I could draw just a totally unusable blue card here. Like a second Teferi, maybe. Alright, well, because he's tapped out. So, we play the land. If I go Teferi, and then he has Force of Negation into his own Teferi, I don't see how we win. If I play Teferi, it resolves, and then he has his own Teferi. Because Teferi can't bounce Planeswalkers, that's an interaction that really favors him. If I cast Ardent Plea, no, I'm not going to cast Ardent Plea. If I cast Shardless Agent, he goes Force into Teferi. That's still bad, but that has the upside of maybe just winning the game here. So that's the one I'll pick. We may never get a chance for the rest of the game to cast a Living End or a Shardless Agent into no mana. Like all he needs is one blue mana for the rest of the game, and he can hold it consigned to memory. So we're pretty good here to anything except Supreme Verdict. Oh, there it is. All right, at least I can Teferi. No, I don't need to Teferi. I can Ardent Plea. Yeah, I've got another one. Go get a blue. We can't. It doesn't matter. Go get a Temple Garden because that's untapped. Pay the life. Pagar dos puntas de. Whatever the Spanish word would be. De vida. Yeah, pagar dos puntos de vida. Living in the vida loco. That was our last Living End. So if I'm going to Living End again, I've got to tuck my own graveyard with Endurance. Yeah, he's got the Force. That was bad. Bad for us, not a bad play. Same logic this turn. He was tapped out. How many times are we going to get him tapped out for the rest of the game? Probably not many. Man, the hits just keep coming with these basics. And hilariously, I almost couldn't leave up blue mana for this consign, but I can. Not consign, mystical. Our version of consign. I'm gonna force of negation that. Well, you know what I mean. He can't have a blue counterspell here because he doesn't have any blue mana. And he doesn't have any red, so I'm gonna bounce that. Leaving Teferi. Should I play Boseiju? No, I can. Why is it letting me? It's because I can't pay for it, but I can try to put it on the stack. Okay. I thought it was letting me play another land there. Yeah, even if he flages this Teferi, like he's so low on cards, this Living End's probably resolving. All right, he thinks the same thing. All right, 1-2 in this league, but 1-0 in the video, and that's what matters. All right, match 2 of the video here. Well, if we draw 2 lands, that hand is good. The problem is I have 1 cycler and I'm on the play. Unfortunately, I don't think I can keep that. That's basically as good. So I'll keep that. And I'm going to put back Force of Negation because I'm already down on cards. And I don't have a way to cycle if I bin Curator. So here's what I'll do. I'll make him think I am Belcher. I always wonder that when I play this turn 1 Sporific Springs if they think I'm Belcher. And I'm just holding up like Spell Pierce or something. Alright, this looks like blue-red Prowess. Yeah, this is blue-red Prowess. Wait until after he can't cast a Mishra's Bauble before I do that. Alright, good draw. No, I don't cast. Get a tap land. Just get blue-green here. Free and Tomb? I don't want that. Too expensive. And we'll see what he does. There's Lava Dart. I have done a good amount of losing to Lava Dart because I don't play around it correctly. If his graveyard gets ridiculous, we could pitch Endurance and use Ardent Play. Okay. Well, Generous End has Reach, so that Show Off should not kill us on his next turn. Gonna save myself some life. Life total really, this is basically like the new version of Counterburn in Modern, so your life total matters quite a bit, I've found in this matchup. Especially when they have cards like Lava Dart that can just kill you from left field. Alright, what do they think of their hand here? Expressive is kind of a bad play given the current board state. I'm not saying our opponent played bad, I'm just saying if I were in their position, I would want to be doing something better. I'd want to be building up the board. Preordain especially. That's not what they needed there. And then what I'm going to do, I think. So 6, that would hit him to 8. If I attack with the Ent, that hits him to 3. And then I'm at 19. Because of the food token, so I will attack with everybody here. Maybe should have left back Shardless Agent, but I've got. I didn't play a land either, but I've been doing that. When I start talking, I forget what I'm doing sometimes. I have lost out of left field to this deck quite a bit, but I'm feeling okay about this. I think if he starts with a slick shot show off, I'm just going to subtlety. Opponent goes for the slick shot. We will respond the way we talked about with subtlety. Yeah. So against this deck, you have to resist the urge to bring in Foundation Breaker because I don't think it's very good. We want Teferi for their counter magic. And I think we want Mysticals, 2 of them. And then I think we're going to take out 1 Waker for the last Mystical. Then do I want Commandeer? I'm going to try Commandeer to do something like steal their Corey Steel Cutter, or also just force through a counterspell. Force Living End through a counterspell, that is. Foundation Breaker sounds good in theory, but it's not good until they play a Corey Steel Cutter. And then it's not even really like, you probably took damage. It doesn't get rid of the creature. Well, this hand stinks. If this was a blue, I might keep it, but too bad. Alright, this is a good hand. What do I want to put back? I think I want to put back Endurance because I don't have another green card. Even though I like Endurance in this matchup quite a bit. And then the question is, what do I do in turn 1? I'm going to play my Misty so that I can hold up Mystical Dispute. And then I may just go get Island. Because like I said, my life total matters quite a bit. They can do a lot of burst damage. And I just pitched my double green spell anyway, so I think I do want to go get Island here. Corey Steel Cutter. Yeah. I'll see if I can find a Force of Negation. I will Force of Negation that. No, I've got my green mana anyway. Okay, we could just Besage you it. I actually think I'll... Well, do I like that though? Yes, I do. And here's why. They're on the play. Actually, I'll do this in their upkeep so they can't get a tap land. They're on the play, which means next they could put a threat into play and then still hold up Consigned to Memory. Yeah. Corey Steelcutter, it makes a lot of problems very quickly. I did ramp my opponent. And now I can't Ardent Plea next turn, but the odds of a living and resolving next turn anyway are really bad. Do I want to? Yes. And I'm going to pitch Mystical Dispute. My graveyard's not very good anyway. Although maybe that was a mistake because any creature would be good. Yeah, like they would have had so many more cards coming at us. It's like they would probably have like 6 power coming at us, or 5, if we hadn't Besaged there. Well, our hand's not getting better. So I'm going to Hollowed Fountain. I've already got 2 blue. I'll get Temple Garden. Pay the life and cross our fingers. Sorry, if my mouse clicks look sporadic, it's because I'm using a crappy wireless mouse on a wood table. And then we just kind of got to hope to go again next turn somehow with something. Yeah, there's the Consigned to Memory. And you might be thinking, oh, if you just waited a turn, you could have pitched the Mystical Dispute. Well, I might be dead. I think making them have it there was correct. And then they play another spell for Corey Steelcutter. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We just gotta hope we draw if we don't die here. Another Cascade spell. And I can't even cycle this Curator. At least not with my current setup. If I drew an untap land, I could. Alright, opponent has lethal. Yeah, they can sacrifice their mountain, cast the lava dart. Yep, there we go. Alright. I think I like this configuration. That's just a really rough matchup on the draw. My screen does that every game. Alright. Can I get a good hand here? Yeah, this is decent. I do have to take a little bit of pain. Do have to remember to use my generous scent. That was a problem a couple rounds ago. Question is, do I save life? I think I'm going to save the life and get Hedge Maze. No, I don't want that. That's risky, but I need to start drawing something. And I still have the land to cast this Endurance, which is much better on the play. It might just get a hump like a Swift Spear. And then if he plays Core Steelcutter, do I commandeer it? I think I would. Now, as ironic as it is, I think I would like a land here. I just didn't want that land. All right. We can hardcast this Mystical now on anything. We also have Sky Turtle. I think I'm going to try to leave Sky Turtle as a bounce spell in this matchup. I love getting stuff back from my graveyard, but just bouncing a big creature might win us the game. Yep. All right, they put the show off into the exile zone. I think what I'll do is cast Endurance here. Get some pressure going. Force them to do something. Would have liked to have gotten a Monastery Whisper for my efforts, but such is life. Land there is a great draw. Living in there is a bad top. Good thing we get to bin that. Question is, do I Mystical Dispute this Slick Shot show off? Yeah, they can cast it for free. So I think I have to turtle it. Corey Steelcutter. I will mystical that. Well, should I mystical or commandeer? I think I'm gonna mystical. Because now I'm kind of in control of the game. Unless they kill me with the show off this turn. Or if they want to use a counter spell on Mystical Dispute on their Corey Steelcutter. I think if they tried to counter that, I would have commandeered the Steelcutter, not the counter spell. There's the show off. I could subtlety that, but I have a Colossal Sky Turtle for it in the future. So I think what I do is I take a beating here, and then when I untap, I just have a lot of. I think I'm in the driver's seat when I untap. And he only hits me for 3. He or she. Their name is Murph333. That sounds like it. I don't know. Endurance is a good draw. And actually, I'm going to cast it now so that they can't get a slick shot show off trigger next turn with it. And I'll just plan to chump. Get that out of your graveyard. Maybe I'm losing some equity there, but I mean, Endurance has reach. It doesn't die to Lightning Bolt, so it's almost assuredly going to get a block in, and it always has enough power to kill Slick Shot Show Off, unless they mutagenic growth. There's another Slick Shot Show Off. Okay. What are they building up for? I want to subtlety this now, and I want to use Commandeer because I'm running out of cards. Commandeer did its job. It was blue. It could have been a Visordrix. It could have been Search the City. It could have been a Wandering Ones. It could have been any blue card. Now I can all attack. He's going to take it. And then I have Bounce Spell. It's not even Bounce Spell. Bounce Ability. Alright. No, I actually don't want Teferi. Because it doesn't stop him from popping off. And if I can get him to use... Yeah, I'm just going to attack with one. What I want is him to go like all the way in on one of these Prowess creatures. And then I'll bounce it with Sky Turtle. You're almost never the beatdown against these guys until you actually have lethal. Or very close. Alright, we'll make it seem like I'm digging here. Oh no, I don't have anything. I'm looking for a subtlety, bro. Well, I found one. I'm still not going to use it. There's EI. That's acceptable. And now we have lethal on board. So if he can't present 16 damage, I don't even need to block, because I can just swing back. There's Soul Guide Lantern. How nice. Sweet pickup. You drew your sideboard card. And we'll figure out if he's up to what's going on here. Goes for the Ent. Can't say I blame him. Well, he knows he can't double attack here, so. All right, I think we win. No blocks. Do you have like 3 mutagenic growths? No, you don't. Goodbye. Have a nice trip. See you next fall. All right, 2-0 for the video. We're back, round 3, which is actually round 5, but I didn't record the first 2. Don't know why my screen does that. I'll have to fix that. We shall keep this hand. It is pretty mid. This is above. This is a 6 or 7 hand. Actually, I give this hand a solid 7 because it doesn't have a living end in it. All right, this looks like the black-white blink deck, which I used to think was a really bad matchup, but I've been playing it differently, and it seems to be working. So I'm not going to commit very much to the graveyard early if I can help it, because they have the card Emperor of Bones, which comes down, eat your creature one at a time every turn. Plus, it can just pay 3 mana or 2 mana or however much it is, and then just make a huge creature. Also, that's not the deck we're playing. As far as headquarters, is that Bant? Yeah, that's the Bant one. Huh, what are they doing over there? And here I was thinking they were black-white because of their black-white fetch land. This is just domain. They have every color now. They could cast Big Man here. I'm gonna fetch. I do need to keep my life total up. Hedge Maze. Actually going to top that, draw it, and pitch it. That makes him tap out next turn, too. I mean, we're on the draw here, which is pretty bad in this situation. But that's just going to buy us a little bit of extra time, I think. And Archive enters the battlefield tipped. Nice, we drew a 1-mana cycler. That couldn't have gone any better. Then we got a free Entomb. That went pretty well as well. This game's turning around. Opponent is out of lands, it seems. They play the Kavu, and no, they're not out of lands. They're just not playing around days. Okay. You can tell I've been watching some Legacy. I like to watch Thraving You and Bosch and Roll for Legacy. Those guys are really good. Also watch the Epic Storm, but I wish he'd play more Storm. Brian, play more Storm. I can only watch like 5 minutes of Popper before I fall asleep. All right, hopefully no stubborn denial here. No stubborn denial. I'm actually going to target Shardless Agent and put it on top because this game's going so well that I think the only way I lose is if he just like board wipes. And now if he board wipes, the creatures will go to my graveyard. See? Yeah. Like, and I could Living End again. I'm gonna top that. That's not something I do often, but when you have kind of a mid-range board that could get swept away, um, and go to the graveyard, it's good to just keep the Shardless Agent on top. Sign of Draco. Yeah, Shardless can't attack into that anyway, but neither can anything else that I have. So perhaps what I do here is attack with everybody. And then Cascade again. I think that's what I do. That Street Wraith can't be blocked, but everything else can. Alright. Force cycle. Get the Surveil land. And then spin the dice again. Although this one's not a dice spin because it doesn't have blue mana open. Yeah. Alright. A little bit of an exotic play there. All right, what do we want against Zoo? I actually don't remember the matchup guides for this one very well. They don't have a lot of blue cards, so I don't think you want Mystical. I don't think you want Commandeer. Their big stuff is like Flage and Scion. I definitely want Breaker or Leyline. I think Teferi. And then out on the draw comes 2 Wakers and an Haven. Actually, I'm going to do two Avens and a Waker because they have so many things that kill Aven. Game 2 here against Zoo, Leyline Zoo. Domain, I think, would be a better name for it. I don't know. What are people calling this deck? Is it Domain? Is it Domain Zoo? I think it's the spiritual successor to the Tribal Flame Zoo decks of the past. Which, by the way, if you still want to play, there's a format called Pre-Fire Modern, which I'm going to try to upload some content again for. It's still chugging along. It doesn't have the most players, but if you're the kind of person watching this and you miss Modern from back in like the pre-COVID era, basically, is what I would say, and before Modern Horizons, definitely check it out. It's fun. I almost won the most recent league. I did not, though, playing Merfolk. And if you like Living End, I think the Living End player there has won a couple leagues in a row, which I don't know if that's even good for the long-term health of the format, but who's to say what's fun and what isn't, besides me? Okay, they didn't bid anything with that Raucous Theater, so that's good for us. They also didn't get a Triome either, which is a little peculiar. Raucous Theater also turns Street Wraith on. Not in like, any kind of like, you know, way that I wasn't intending there. But it makes Swamp Walk cause the creature to be unblockable. That's what I mean. I don't know what you thought I meant. All right, when you have a good hand against Thoughtseize, just don't do anything. Yeah, they pretty much always have to take the Cascade spell. Let's draw first and then surveil. Well, that was terrible. There's an old principle I learned watching the Peach Garden Oath players. I think I need to get white. Back when Huey Jensen, Reed Duke, and Owen Turtenwald all lived in the same house, somebody asked Owen if he'd rather scry and then draw or draw and then scry early in the game. And the consensus has been that early in the game you would much rather have the draw because scry gets more value later in the game when you don't have as many cards, and all the cards you get need to be good. Whereas early in the game, you can plan the rest of your game around what you draw, whereas you can't do that so much in the late game. All that to say, you should probably draw before you surveil, unless you're looking for something specific to draw right then and there. Hope that made sense to somebody. Well, nothing I have here is any good, but I might never get a chance to use this Force of Negation again. Right, he's going to take... No, there's nothing he can take I can't just get back with Turtle. So we're good. Hopefully he takes the Living End. Pop the graveyards out because that can start to matter. He doesn't have many creatures, but they are huge. I think that's correct, taking Sky Turtle. It's almost like taking Snapcaster Mage, because if you don't take Snapcaster Mage, then whatever you take, they're going to flash back with Snapcaster Mage. Like I was saying there, Colossal Sky Turtle, whatever he takes, I can get it back with Colossal Sky Turtle. The other option I think that was valid was Waker Waves to slow me down from drawing another Cascade spell. There's the Kavu. I'll see if I can get a Subtlety, because I don't want this Force of Negation. Oh, that's great. Big fan. All right. Do I need to get greedy? No. I'm going to take Ardent Plea anyway. That way I get another creature back with Living End. Although I would get the creature back anyway with Living End, so that was a little bit silly. The reason it matters is because if he has like Force of Negation or something for the Living End, at least if I cast Charlotte's Agent, I'd still have the 2/2. But, I mean, look at our opponent's deck. Does he have Force of Negation? I doubt it. Alright, we shall... I'm gonna do it. I'm gonna pay the life. Feeling lucky. I'm not lucky, but... I already paid it, so can't do anything. Oops, need to tap white mana. Alright, do we just get a clean 3-0? The reason I debated the street right there was he could do like Tribal Flames, Flage, and like steal the game somehow. But having Swamp Walk is pretty good. Also, I have a 7/7, so good luck. And I have a Force of Negation. And you're tapped out. All right. Ended up 4-1 that league, 3-0 for the video. Thanks for watching.